Good morning, students. This video is for class 4 science, and today also we will continue with the same topic, same chapter, that is push and pull. And in this chapter we will continue with the types of forces. Number 1. First, we have already studied about muscular force. We have already studied about gravitational force. Third, that is magnetic force. In magnetic force, what do you mean by magnetic force? Magnetic force is that force which is exerted by the magnet to pull any object made of iron or magnetic substances. So the force that is exerted by a magnet to attract any iron object or any substance which has magnetic property towards itself is known as magnetic force. Magnetic force is the force exerted by a magnet that pulls material like iron, cobalt and nickel towards itself. So any material, any substance that is made of iron, cobalt or nickel that is attracted by the magnet is known as the magnetic force. A magnet is a piece of metal. That means it can be iron, it can be cobalt or it can be nickel that attracts other magnets or objects that are made of iron, cobalt or nickel towards itself. So a magnet is itself a piece of metal which is either made of iron or nickel or cobalt and has the ability to attract any other substance which is also made of iron, nickel or cobalt towards itself. For example, when a magnet is dipped in a bowl that contains material like plastic, pieces of paper and iron nail, it attracts only iron nails. Now suppose if you take a big bowl and inside that you put few pieces of paper, few plastics and few iron nails, and then you put a magnet inside that, you will see the magnet will only attract the nails that is made of iron, leaving behind all other materials. This is because why? This is because of the magnetic force that is exerted by the magnet, and this is because that magnet has force within itself, and that force which is known as magnetic force helps the magnet to attract the nails that is made of iron. A magnet has two poles in it. They are north pole and south pole. So now if you see a magnet, any type of magnet, it will have two poles at the two end, north pole and south pole. So it is not necessary that this left side will be north, it can be south also. Now if you take a horseshoe magnet, this will also have north pole and south pole. So any magnet, you take any magnet and that magnet will have two poles, that is north pole and south pole. Now suppose if you break this magnet, it does not mean that north will be separate and south will be separate. The two pieces will also have, in that case it will have north pole in one piece, north pole and south pole, in the other piece also there will be north pole and south pole. So you cannot separate these two poles apart from each other. The next one is frictional force. Next is frictional force. Frictional force is the force that is exerted by a surface when an object moves on it. Now suppose if this is a surface and if you move an object on top of my hand or any plane surface, the force that is exerted by this surface and the object on which it is there, on below which it is there, the two surfaces when they come in contact, they create a force, they produce a force that is known as frictional force. This force develops between two objects when they come in contact with each other. As I have told you, when two objects come in contact with each other, the surface in contact, they produce a force. That force is known as frictional force. The frictional force either slows down or completely stops the object from moving. So now suppose if you take an example, like if you are riding a bicycle and you apply the brake, the frictional force between the surface of the tire and the surface of the road actually causes the cycle to stop. it opposes the motion. That means it resists, it stops the motion. This is because it always acts in the opposite direction of the moving object. So frictional force, remember, frictional force always acts in the opposite direction of the moving object. If the moving object is moving towards the north, the frictional force will act towards south. If the moving object is towards east, the frictional force will always act against the direction that is in the east side. Frictional force is experienced more on the rough surface than on the smooth surface. So you know, rough surface, the surface that is not smooth, that is uneven. In an uneven surface, frictional force is more, and in a smooth surface, frictional force is less. So, for example, suppose if you go to the shopping mall, you all must have been to the shopping mall. You will see the floor is marbled, or they have put tiles. So that is why the surface is very smooth, and that is why sometimes you slip down. But if you walk in a rough surface, there will be a lot of friction and you will not slip. Friction is important as it provides us the grip that is necessary for walking on the ground, as our feet and the ground are in contact. So while walking, there should be friction. If there is no friction, it will not be possible for us to walk. So there should be friction which helps us to ride. Due to friction, we can ride. Due to friction, we can walk. Due to friction, we can run. It is because of friction that we can do so many things. Without friction, we would slip or fall on the ground. So as I have told you, if there were no friction between the surfaces in contact, then we would have slipped down, we would have fall down. So children, by this we have come to the end of the explanation of the chapter. From the next class, we will start with the exercise portion. So children, for today up to this much. Thank you, class.